Thanks for joining us on another episode of Is There More, the podcast. My name is Megan, and I'm listening. This is a follow-up episode to the Comeback Story Part 2 featuring both Kelsie and her husband, Brandon. There is more, but I'll let them tell you themselves.
At the end of the day, we both do what we can for each other, no matter what, because it's us two until the end.
I wanted more than anything in this world. And I really thought like it was gonna happen. Like there was money, there was drugs, there was all these things on the line, like that this was gonna happen for my husband and I.
We've run into some brick walls before, but what's the option after that? Grab a hammer. We're getting through it.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
So.
Every day. I think specifically for you, it was, our lives completely changed.
Yeah, so there is not a pain that I've experienced that's so deep as infertility. It is the deepest pain that you can imagine. Now, she's told you about, her disease the past 4 or 5 months. And it's bone-curdling pain. I mean, if you've ever heard someone kind of yell in so much pain, it's so deep. Like, that's what it's been. Infertility in a sense like that, she's not yelling like that so deep, but the pain, just when she sees, a mother and a child walking side by side, you can see that yearning in her eyes. And, it's really hard, but it's especially hard on the both of us and me too, because we want, 4, 5, something like that.
Lots of babies.
We want all the babies.
Yeah.
And,
I think building our solid foundation as a couple,
mm-hmm.
and just doing that from the very beginning and having just very clear communication has helped kind of the both of us. And I always told Brandon when I was sick again, I kept saying, I'm sorry. I kept saying like, I'm sorry. Like, I'm so sorry that this is like happening to us. And he looked at me and he said, baby, I took vows. And those vows, it's true. When you take vows when you're married and they come into play, it's a choice. And we've both made that choice to just say that we're not going to let this ruin us. We're only going to let it make us stronger. But I also have an incredible husband and partner right by my side. And I think that's so, so important when you're going through hard things in life, that the people around you are building you up and not breaking you down.
There's been, movies and scripture that even point towards it, but it's just like, hey, if you ask God for patience, he's going to give you opportunities to be patient. And if you ask to be closer together, he's going to give you an opportunity to be closer together. Well, that's not necessarily what we're asking, but, we said at the end of the day, your will be done, and let us, follow you no matter what. But, if all the good things happen in the process of doing that, that's what we're after. And one of the best things that has happened is that over the last 4 months, being up at 3 a.m., going to the hospital at 3 a.m., stuff like that, we've grown so much closer. And I wish I can conceptualize that better, because, just to say we've grown closer is not enough. She knows now more than ever that no matter what happens, she just needs to look at me and say the word, and we'll go. Yeah. Whatever it is, we'll do it. We'll go. Yeah, we've just let it bring us closer as a couple, and also in our faith too. We like pray together, and it's a beautiful thing that's come from tragedy. Infertility is also just like so hard too on a marriage, and especially when it's not only like my dream to have a baby, but it's our dream. It's our dream. And these were our embryos, and we thought we were so close to this, and it kind of got ripped from us in the worst way possible. And now to navigate a new chapter of life and still find the light in it is, we're still learning. I mean, I think that we're just trying our best. We're waking up every day and we're trying our best. And if you try your best, good will come from that.
Yeah. Brandon, I love that you said that Kelsie now knows that she can just say the word at any time and we'll go, whatever that means. Kels, it seems like maybe it wasn't always that way for you. So can you tell me about like the journey of really feeling safe with somebody and supported by somebody? Like how did that unfold?
Yeah, I think before when the disease came about, it was just me, right? Like it was me and my parents, and like the disease wasn't shared with anyone else. The pain, like, I mean, it was shared with my parents, yes, but the pain that Brandon has witnessed with the disease has been significant. And I kind of, for a little bit, I was like, should I just go home and like deal with the disease and then come back? But that's not how marriage works. And like as partners, you're in it together. And I think that Brandon, these were only my own doubts in my head. Like it was nothing Brandon ever did. It was just doubting my ability to get through this, because I knew I could get through it, but I didn't know if I could get through it with somebody else just witnessing it. Because when you are the caregiver of somebody that has a disease and is dealing with pain day in and day out, it is not easy. It is not easy to watch because you almost feel helpless.
You feel powerless.
You feel powerless. It's a horrible thing. So for me, I was just like, you know, I felt like unsure, and Brandon made me just feel so sure and safe, and that it's me and him against the world.
I can liken it to this. It's whenever before you're married, you want to find someone who's going to uh, love you through your most vulnerable and weakest point. And just think of like the times that you've disliked yourself, that you thought, how can someone love something like this, something like me, And when you experience that with someone, and then on the other side, they're like, I still love you, and I'm still here. And that's what we experienced.
Yeah, it's been beautiful. It really has. I have an incredible husband.
Incredible wife.
I can see that. You guys, I'm so happy, Kelsie, to see you with somebody like Brandon, because yes, I can tell this is a really good supportive relationship for the both of you. Brandon, you talk about, being there for Kelsey and supporting her. What did you have to do to prepare to be the kind of person, or I guess, did you go through pain that made you prepared for this type of battle, right?
Preparedness was, you don't necessarily know what's going to come. We moved down to Florida. We expected a certain outcome from that, and we got hit with something totally different. And I guess the level of preparedness, we couldn't have expected that, so we weren't prepared, but we were prepared in the sense of, in this case, I was prepared in the sense of, okay, whatever comes, the marriage comes first. Whatever that means, if it means that I have to sacrifice X or Y, right? If that means that I have to do this, work extra hours or take extra time off or whatever it is, you do it. On the other side of that, you also have to, pray for that kind of strength. I mean, it's when you're up at 3 a.m., and you've gotten 2 hours of sleep, it is easy to be annoyed when you're tired and you're just like, oh my gosh, she's in pain again and again and again and again and again. And sometimes, you wake up and you're like, man, this is, really unfair to her, but this is unfair to me too. Those selfish thoughts that pop up. And it's just like, well, this isn't an ideal situation for either of us. But at the end of the day, even when you're annoyed, even when like you're, you're tired, you're on 2 hours of sleep, you make that decision every time to make the right decision. And you always know what the right decision is. It's just, do you have the discipline to make that decision, even when you're annoyed, even when you're upset, and that's the biggest thing I can think of for being prepared for kind of really any situation is, okay, sometimes life isn't going to be fair. Sometimes life is going to give you a really crappy pair of cards, but you've got to make the right decision. And sometimes it's not easy to make the right decision. And sometimes it goes in the face of, everything you've known, so make the right decision. Most of the time, you know what that is. And the right decision in marriage is, always to support your marriage first. If that means that you have to confront your spouse, if that means that you have to support them, just blanket support them on something, then do that, But like from my experience, just mine, I pretty much always know what that answer is. It's just, do I have the discipline to go after that?
Yeah. And you're not, I think too, that you're going to make mistakes too. Like there's been plenty of times in, our lives and our marriage where we're not doing it all right. And we're not doing
For
the
sure.
best we can. And I think just having open communication and saying, okay, we maybe didn't do that the best, but we're going to do better next time because we love each other. And that's, we're not always going to get it right, but I promise you I'm going to do better next time. And it's very simple. I'm going to try my best
Yeah.
because I love you and you love me, and we're just continuing to put one foot in front of the other.
That's true. That's very true.
Yeah. we're winging it over here.
Yeah, we're winging it. We're Florida
you
people
guys-
now.
You Florida people. You guys are like really I want to say like good people. Like you have good morals. You clearly have faith. You have discipline. I don't see that too much. Like even when somebody does say like they're, they go to church and it's like it still doesn't feel quite like this relationship you have feels very real and true and honest, and like you said, like make the right, like you always make the right decision, within reason. You're making the right decisions and you know what that is because I guess you pray or you ask what is the right decision, and you're in that constant communion with God, and that's really like nice to see. Would you guys be open to doing what's called an appreciation dialogue with each other?
What's that?
So, you remember how I told you a dialogue is like using carefully structured sentence stems during a conversation to make sure everyone feels safe and heard to reduce conflict? It's a little like structured process. If you're open to the experiment, it'll take like 5-10 minutes.
Yeah, what is it?
Okay, so
Here.
one of you gets to choose which one wants to send an appreciation to the other one.
Okay. I'll send it to Brandon.
Okay. Okay, so can you face each other, or is there enough room to like look each other in the eyes? Oh, it's funny the first time. Look each other in the eyes. Yeah, there you go. Okay, now ask Brandon, is now a good time to give you an appreciation dialogue?
Is now a good time to give you an appreciation dialogue?
Sure.
Right. You can say no. If it's not a good time, you can say, "Can we try 2 p.m., honey?" So, okay, now you guys take 3 deep breaths and look each other in the eyes. So you're kind of getting on the same like frequency. Yeah, exactly. Breathing together and being present with each other. Kelsey's going to say, "Brandon, I appreciate you because," and just give him the reason you appreciate him. And Brandon, what you're going to have to do is repeat back what you heard. So wait until you get enough and be like, "Let me see if I got that." And then try to say, "Okay, if I got that, you appreciate me because this," and repeat back what you heard. Okay, so go
Brandon,
ahead.
I appreciate you because of how hard you work. Not only for our family, but in your job and just being a good human being overall.
Brandon, you say, "Let me see if I got that," and then repeat back what you heard.
All right. Let me see if I got that. So you appreciate me for how hard I work, not only for the family, but for really everything else.
And then you ask, "Did I get that?"
Did I get that?
Yes.
And Kelsey, you can say, "Yes, you did," or "Yes, and I'd like to add or resend this part."
Yes. And I'd like to add how much I love your heart and appreciate your heart for all the things that you do in life. Not just for me, but the way that you pour your heart out into work and God and family and just the stranger at the gas station. I mean, you really can talk to anyone and you just pour your heart out into everyone. So I wanted to add that.
Thank you for that.
And you say, "Let me see if I got
Yeah.
that."
If I got that, you appreciate me for my heart, and you appreciate me for, what I do for my family, and what I do for the stranger at the gas station. And you really just love my heart. Did I get that?
Yes.
Perfect.
And now you say, Is there more to that?
Got any more?
Nope, that's it for now.
All right. And then you say, and then Brandon, you say, thanks for sharing. And Kel says, thanks for listening.
Thank you for sharing, babe.
Thanks for listening.
And then you do a hug or a high five or a kiss or whatever it is when you're together. Bam. Okay, so that's an appreciation dialogue. It's like mirroring, Brandon, you had to mirror what she's saying. So how did that feel? How did both of you feel doing that? I know it's a little awkward the first time.
I liked it. I think it was one of those things like sometimes in our marriage, like he's talking and he's like, you need to put your phone down, or you really need to like listen to what I'm saying. And I feel like that's something we could definitely implement more, is just, hey, I said something. Can you repeat it back to me so they know that you really heard it?
Yeah.
Did you like it?
Yeah, no, so it's definitely the same thing. Like, I can be doing the same thing, or, I'm paying attention to something else more than I'm paying attention to the dialogue. And, I actually had this friend a really long time ago, and he was telling me about work stuff, and you can apply this anywhere else, but he was just like, hey, you know what? You're going to get far if you're really busy and someone calls you. And if you hang up on them, say, no, I'm too busy, I can't do this right now, that's not going to work. You give them 5 minutes of undivided attention, and that is going to make them feel like, they matter. And it applies to everything else too. So
Somebody's
it's
not
something I need to
listening
get
to you.
better at too. Just let me put down what I'm doing. Let me look at you.
And tell
What have
you
you
how
got to say? And
Right.
yeah, it really helps speak the same language too. Sometimes we're all speaking English, but we're not really communicating.
Yeah.
Or, if you're not actively listening, I guess that's an active listening exercise. So I guess if you're not actively listening, you can miss the point pretty easily. So
Totally.
yeah, it's a good exercise.
Okay, cool. No, thank you guys for sharing that. Yeah, because this was developed over 45 years by these world-renowned therapists who teach, actually, it's called imago-therapy for couples in crisis. And so our CEO was like, why don't we learn these skills before we become a couple in crisis? Like, why don't we learn
Yeah.
this active listening so we can actually know how to, we call it connect, not communicate, because communicate can be like, aren't we, but connecting is like, that's why you look each other in the eyes and take the deep breaths. And then when you ask, is now a good time to talk about this thing? It's like called honoring boundaries. So 50% of all conflict is eliminated just by asking that one question. Because everybody's running their own movie program in their head, right? I'm doing my emails, or I'm on the phone with my grandma in the hospital, and then you interrupt and it's like, dude, what? Like, no, not right now. And then I love the mirroring aspect, because just like you guys said, it feels good to be seen and heard, right? And like witnessed, but actually, they're listening because they say it back to you. And it also feels good to give that undivided attention and be present with somebody else. But it's like you're giving them a gift. So yeah, it was cool to see you guys do that. But
I
yeah,
love that.
that's like one of the main skills we practice over here, because it's tough to work with a bunch of different creative people and everybody's got their own thing going on. So we practice like every day, it's appreciation or it's a frustration dialogue. If you're frustrated, because either people usually avoid conflict or they kind of do it in a, kind of not so great way. So this gives it a structured, like, I'm going to hear you all the way out. I can't respond. And then we can flip, and you can do it the other way and hear the other side.
I
But
love that. I love
yeah,
that.
it prevents like the interruption or the, oh my God, me too. Or like the advice, or like, it just prevents all that and keeps you just focused on what the person has to share from their own perspective. And then you can flip and do it the other way. So yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah, I definitely come across those people. They're just like, oh, me too. Yeah. And then they go into their
No,
story. It's
most
like,
people are like that. Like, seriously, I feel unless you learn, otherwise the world at large kind of operates like that. So
yeah.
I've been very affected by learning this, because now I don't have to, somebody doesn't have to be practicing the literal thing with me. But if I mirror somebody before I give my own opinion, or even like in a business meeting, for example, if I make sure they know that I'm listening to them, it just makes everything so much more like smooth. I
More
don't know, it's
real.
just really cool to have. Yeah, more real too, exactly.
True, like human connection without all the distractions.
Yeah.
Thanks for teaching us.
Thanks for learning.
Megan was the first one that did my documentary back in the day.
That was you.
She
Yeah,
did.
yeah.
That
I
was
know.
10 years ago.
10 years ago.
Mhm.
Crazy,
Oh, you just
right?
went up like 20 notches in my book. Thank you. I didn't know that was you.
I've
And
done
now
it
you're putting a
with-
spotlight on other creators.
Yeah, I know. It's so
cool.
great.
There's always more. And I love the name of the
There
podcast
is
too. Is there more?
Is there more?
I wanted to point something out about Kelsie is that's something I've noticed about her is that she generally pulls this thread that everyone kind of walks around with a thread, and she kind of pulls that thread. I've seen it happen 3 or 4 times with different people, but she'll like pull something and they'll just be like, ooh, either let me, do this in a way that's better. And Kelsie doesn't say get better. Kelsie just like provides an example or says, hey, you know what, you're really good at this, or she lives her life in a certain way. People are like, wow, I've got to be around that. I've got to do something with that. And in your case, it was that, creativity. And she was just like, hey, you're really good at this. And you're like, I might be good at this. I need to continue doing this. So, wow, 10 years later, though.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
here you two are after that.
Yep. Yep. And
Life comes around. That's crazy.
it does. It does. And yeah, that's so cool. Well, I'm excited to see where we're both going to go.
Me too. And
And know that I'm rooting you on.
you too. This podcast is brought to you by Dialogue Life Skills, the world's scalable solution to the teen and young adult mental health crisis. Visit dialoguelifeskills.com for more information and follow Is There More World on all platforms.